and welcome to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, your guide on this journey of practicing English through everyday stories, conversations, and reflections. I'm so glad you're here with me today. One of the best ways to improve your English is by talking about daily life. Simple, ordinary things like waking up, eating breakfast, or going to work are actually some of the most powerful tools you can use. Because they happen every day, you always have something to talk about. And the more you practice, the more natural your English becomes. So, let's begin together with daily life and morning routines. Every morning has its rhythm. Yesterday, for example, I woke up at 5:30 because I wanted to start my day early. I brushed my teeth, washed my face, and prepared a cup of warm water with a slice of lemon. That small action helps me wake up fully and feel refreshed. Then I made a list of the things I needed to do that day. There were 5 things on my list: buy fresh bread, reply to emails, call my mother, prepare lunch for my family, and clean my desk. This is a very normal list, but it's a perfect example of how you can describe your daily routine in English. When you talk about daily life, use simple verbs. Words like wake up, wash, eat, cook, work, clean, walk, and read. These are the building blocks of everyday English. Let me share another example. Sarah is my neighbor. She's a teacher. She wakes up at 6:30, takes a shower, prepares breakfast for her husband and 2 children, and then takes them to school. After that, she drives to her school and teaches until 2 in the afternoon. In the evening, she helps her children with homework, cooks dinner, and spends some time reading before bed. This is her normal routine, and it's very similar to the way many people live. Now, let's imagine another situation, this time at work. John, who works in an office, starts his day at 9 in the morning. First, he checks his emails. Then, he attends a short meeting with his team. After the meeting, he works on his computer until lunchtime. At lunch, he eats with his colleagues. In the afternoon, he finishes his tasks, writes a report, and prepares for the next day. At 5 o'clock, he leaves the office and goes home. When you describe your workday in English, you can follow the same pattern. First this, then that, after that something else, and finally the day ends. These words, first, then, after that, finally, are very helpful for connecting your ideas and making your English easy to follow. Of course, not every day goes exactly as planned. Sometimes our routines are interrupted by surprises. Last Tuesday, while I was walking to the market, it started to rain suddenly. I didn't have an umbrella, so I had to wait under a tree for 10 minutes. After the rain stopped, I bought fresh vegetables and some bread. When I returned home, my wife said, "You came back early today." I told her about the rain and we laughed together. That's real life, small surprises that make the day more memorable. And sharing these moments in English makes your stories sound alive and natural. Weekends are different too. Many people have a routine during the week, but a different one on Saturdays and Sundays. My old school friend, Daniel, once told me about his Saturday. He wakes up a little later, around 8 o'clock. He makes pancakes for breakfast because his children love them. After breakfast, the family goes to the park to play and walk. In the afternoon, they clean the house together and sometimes visit their grandparents. In the evening, they have dinner as a family and talk about the past week. Notice how these simple sentences create such a clear picture of his weekend. Another part of daily life is talking about chores at home. Chores are those small jobs you do to keep your home clean and organized. You can say things like, I wash the dishes after lunch, or I sweep the floor every evening. Yesterday, for example, I washed the clothes in the morning, and in the afternoon, I ironed my shirts. My children helped me fold the clothes. These small details make your conversation sound true and personal, and they are easy to share in English. Sometimes our daily life changes because of something new. Let me give you an example. Last month, my wife started a new job. Because of this, our morning routine changed. Now I wake up earlier to prepare breakfast for the family. I make eggs, bread, and tea. After everyone leaves for work and school, I clean the kitchen and then start my own work. Life changes, and when it does, we can explain those changes in English. Meals are another important part of daily life. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, these are topics everyone can talk about. For example, you can say, I usually eat rice and vegetables for lunch, or we often have chicken and salad for dinner. Just 2 days ago, I tried a new recipe for dinner. I cooked rice with vegetables and a light soup. My children said, "This is tasty." I felt happy because they enjoyed it. Sharing these small experiences makes your English practice fun and meaningful. Let's also listen in on a simple conversation between two people talking about their day. Emma: Hi Daniel, how is your morning going? Daniel: It is going well. I already finished my breakfast and cleaned the kitchen. How about you, Emma? Emma: I just came back from the market. I bought fresh tomatoes and bread for lunch. Daniel: That sounds nice. I still need to buy milk this afternoon. Emma: Good idea. I also need to do laundry later. These kinds of small conversations are very common in daily life. They may seem simple, but they are exactly the kind of English that people use every day. Evening routines are another part of the picture. I usually finish work at 6 o'clock. Then I prepare dinner, eat with my family, and go for a short walk around the neighborhood. After that, I sit on the sofa, read a book for about 30 minutes, and then prepare for bed. I usually go to bed around 10 o'clock. Saying your routine in this simple way makes it easy to practice and remember. Daily life also includes helping others. Just last week, my neighbor's car had a flat tire. I saw him in the yard and offered to help. We worked together and changed the tire in about 15 minutes. After that, he thanked me and said, "You saved my day." These small stories show kindness, and they're wonderful to share in English. And then, of course, there are plans for tomorrow. Talking about future plans is a very common part of conversation. Tonight, before going to bed, I will write down 3 things I want to do tomorrow. Go to the market, clean the living room, and call my brother. You can say things like, tomorrow I will visit my parents, or next week I'm going to clean the garden. Simple, clear sentences like these are both practical and easy to use. Let's pause here for a moment. When you think about all these examples, waking up early, eating meals, going shopping, helping neighbors, spending weekends with family, you can see how much language is hidden in daily life. Every small action is an opportunity to practice English. Welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and I'm so happy you're still here with me. In the first part, we explored morning routines and simple ways to describe our everyday lives. Now let's move deeper into family life, health, food, and household chores, the kinds of things that fill our afternoons and evenings and give us so many chances to practice English. Family life is often the heart of daily routines. In my own home, my wife usually wakes up early to prepare breakfast for our children. They eat together at the table, and then she helps them get ready for school. In the afternoon, they do homework together, and in the evening, we all gather for dinner at the same table and share our stories about the day. Sometimes my son says, "Today I learned something new at school." Moments like these are simple, but they carry a lot of meaning. When you describe your family life in English, you can use very basic words, but those words create a warm and real picture. Another way to bring life to your stories is by including the weather. You can say, "Today it is sunny, so I will hang the clothes outside." Or, "It rained yesterday, so we stayed at home and cleaned the house." One winter, it snowed so heavily in my town that every morning we had to clear the snow from the yard before leaving the house. These details make your storytelling more colorful and natural. And remember, connecting your ideas with time words makes your English flow better. Words like first, then, after that, finally. For example, first I wake up and brush my teeth. Then I make breakfast for my family. After that, I wash the dishes and start my work. Finally, in the evening, I relax with a cup of tea. These small connectors are powerful tools for keeping your listeners with you. But of course, not every day is ordinary. Sometimes something unusual happens. Last Friday, for instance, I missed my bus in the morning. That meant I had to walk for 20 minutes to reach the office. I arrived a little late, but my colleague smiled and said, "It's okay, these things happen." Later that day, I bought a new bus card so I wouldn't miss it again. Sharing small stories like these helps you practice the past tense while keeping your English real and interesting. Now let's meet someone else with a very structured routine. Michael, a friend of mine, is extremely organized. He wakes up at 6 o'clock, drinks a glass of water, and goes for a 20-minute walk. After his walk, he takes a shower and gets dressed for work. Michael likes to start his day with the hardest tasks. He always says, "I do the hard tasks in the morning because I am more focused." That's a good lesson for us, not only in life, but also in English. Start with the things that challenge you, and the rest will feel easier. Meals are another beautiful part of daily life. My wife usually cooks breakfast for the family. On weekdays, she makes eggs, toast, and sometimes fruit. On weekends, we try something different, like pancakes or porridge. Lunch is usually simple, often rice, vegetables, and chicken. And dinner is special because it's the time we sit together and talk about our day. Talking about meals is always useful in English because food is universal. Everyone eats every day, so you always have something to say. Chores are connected to meals too. Yesterday, after lunch, I washed the dishes, swept the floor, and cleaned the kitchen counter. My children helped fold the clothes while my wife prepared dinner. These sentences are clear and easy for daily conversations. You can say, "I clean the kitchen every evening," or "I help my children with homework." Small, true sentences that anyone can understand. Shopping is another daily activity. Last Wednesday, I went to the market to buy fruits and vegetables. I bought apples, bananas, tomatoes, and carrots. After that, I went to the bakery to get fresh bread. When I came home, my wife was happy because everything was ready for lunch. Sharing something like, "I went to the market," or "I bought fresh vegetables and bread," is a simple way to practice English while describing real life. Work, of course, is part of daily life for many of us. My friend Lisa is an office worker. She starts at 9, she checks her emails, attends a short meeting, and then works on her projects until lunch. In the afternoon, she prepares reports and calls clients. At 5 o'clock, she finishes work and goes home. You can use her story as a model with useful words like check emails, attend a meeting, prepare reports, call clients. These are very common in English, and they help you explain your work clearly. Evenings often bring family together. My wife and I like to spend time with our children after dinner. We sit in the living room, talk about our day, and sometimes play a game or read a book together. On weekends, we go to the park or visit relatives. Describing these activities in English can be simple, like, we play board games in the evening, or we visit my parents on Sundays. And evenings are also for relaxation. I like to drink a cup of tea and sit quietly for half an hour. My wife reads a book while our children play nearby. Sentences like, I relax in the evening, or I spend time with my family before bed, are short, natural, and very real. Exercise fits into daily life as well. I try to walk at least 20 minutes every day. Some people prefer the gym, while others like to run in the park. You can describe it in simple words like, I go for a walk every morning, or I exercise 3 times a week. For children, it's the same. After school, they love to run, play ball, and ride their bicycles in the park. You can say, my children play outside after school, or they enjoy playing in the park. Now let's think about unexpected changes. Sometimes plans have to shift. Last Thursday, I planned to go to the market, but it rained heavily. Instead, I stayed home and cleaned the house. My wife said, it's okay, we can go tomorrow. Describing moments like this is useful because it gives you practice with the past tense and helps your English sound natural. Hobbies also fill daily life. My wife enjoys cooking new recipes, and I enjoy gardening. On weekends, I often plant vegetables and flowers in the garden, while she tries out new dishes in the kitchen. You can describe hobbies in sentences like, I like to read books, or I enjoy gardening on weekends. These are fun to share in English because they show your personality. Planning for the next day is another routine. Every night, I write a short list of tasks for tomorrow. Visit the grocery store, cook lunch, clean the living room. Writing this list keeps me organized. You can say, I plan my day every evening, or I make a list of tasks for tomorrow. Transportation is also part of everyday stories. I usually drive to the market, but sometimes I take the bus. Yesterday I walked because the weather was nice. You can describe that by saying, I go to work by car, or I walk to the market today. Short, useful sentences that are easy to remember. And then there are those small joys that brighten the day. Yesterday, my children made a little drawing for me. I felt happy and showed it to my wife. You can say, I enjoyed a small moment with my family, or my children made me happy today. These are the details that make your English stories sound personal and true. Helping family members is another part of daily life. When my wife is busy cooking, I wash the dishes. After that, I might help fold the laundry. You can say, I help my family every day, or we work together at home. These sentences show cooperation, which is such an important part of family life. Evenings often end with preparation for bed. After dinner, I sometimes watch the children play or I read quietly. My wife might prepare tea or check her emails. You can describe this simply by saying, I relax in the evening, or I spend time with my family before bed. Then, before sleeping, I write a list of tasks for tomorrow, maybe visiting the market, cleaning the living room, or calling my parents. Saying, I plan my day every night is a clear way to describe this habit. And finally, weekends bring another rhythm. On Saturdays, my family and I often go shopping, clean the house, or visit relatives. Last weekend, we visited my parents and had lunch together. A simple way to describe that is, We spend weekends together, or we visit family on weekends. These small stories, meals, chores, children's routines, hobbies, and little surprises are the real fabric of daily life. And when you practice them in English, you not only build vocabulary, but also confidence in describing the world around you. Welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and together we're exploring English through the lens of daily life. In the last part, we talked about family, meals, chores, and small joys at home. Now, let's turn to transportation, work routines, communication, and those unexpected events that remind us how lively and unpredictable life can be. Let's start with commuting, the way we move from place to place. Some people take a bus, some drive, and some prefer to walk. I usually drive to the office, but last Friday my car was at the service center, so I walked to the bus stop and took the bus. It took a little longer than usual, but I used that time to listen to an English podcast. That's one of my favorite ways to learn, using those small pockets of time in the day. You can describe this experience simply. I took the bus today, or I walked because my car was at the repair shop. Transportation gives you endless chances to practice English. Sentences like, I go to work by car, I take the bus every morning, or I walked to the market today are short, practical, and natural. Work routines are another central part of daily life. At the office, my morning usually starts with organizing tasks. I make a small list, emails to reply to, calls to make, and reports to prepare. Writing tasks in a list helps me stay focused. Just yesterday, I had 5 tasks, and I managed to finish all of them before lunch. You can say, I make a list every morning, or I finish important work before lunch. Lunch itself is simple. Yesterday, I ate rice with vegetables and some grilled chicken. My children had sandwiches because they prefer something quick. After lunch, we cleaned the table together. You can share this with phrases like, I usually eat lunch at home, or we clean the table after meals. These sentences are short, real, and easy to practice. Sometimes daily life includes small challenges. Last Monday, for example, my wife's bicycle had a flat tire. She needed it to go to the store, so I helped her fix it. We worked together, and within 10 minutes, it was ready again. A simple way to describe that is, I helped my wife with a small problem, or we solved it quickly together. Afternoons also bring their own routines. After work, I usually spend time with my children. Sometimes we do homework together. Other times we play board games or simply sit and read books. Yesterday, my son and daughter wanted to draw pictures, and I joined them, helping with coloring. Describing it is easy. I spend time with my children in the afternoon, or we do homework together. Household chores, of course, continue throughout the day. In the afternoon, I often sweep the floors, clean the windows, and organize the living room. Yesterday, I also watered the plants on the balcony. Sentences like, I clean the house in the afternoon, or I watered the plants every day, are very clear and easy to use. Sometimes afternoons also include errands. Yesterday, after finishing my chores, I went to the grocery store. I bought vegetables, fruits, and milk. When I returned home, I put everything in the fridge and started preparing dinner. That can be described with sentences like, I went shopping in the afternoon, or I bought fresh food for my family. Evening routines bring the family together again. Around 6 o'clock, I usually prepare dinner while my children play nearby. My wife sets the table and checks the homework. Yesterday, we had rice, chicken, and salad for dinner. A simple way to say this is, I prepare dinner every evening, or we eat together as a family. After dinner, we clean together. My children help by putting their plates in the sink. Yesterday, I also wiped the counters and swept the floor. You can share this by saying, I clean the kitchen after dinner, or my children help me at home. After chores, we all take a little time to relax. Sometimes I read a book, sometimes I enjoy a cup of tea. Yesterday, I read a storybook with my children before bed. You can describe it as, I read in the evening, or I spend time with my family before sleeping. Planning for the next day is a habit that closes the evening well. Before going to bed, I like to write a short list of tasks for tomorrow. For example, tomorrow I will visit the grocery store, clean the living room, and call my parents. You can say, I plan my day every night, or I make a list of things to do tomorrow. These are useful phrases for organizing life in English. Sometimes evenings also include visits from friends. Just last Saturday, my friend Daniel visited us. We talked about our week, shared stories, and drank tea together. A simple way to express that is, I met my friend yesterday, or we spent time talking and relaxing. Children's routines also add rhythm to the home. My children usually wake up at 7, eat breakfast, brush their teeth, and go to school. After school, they do homework, play for an hour, and then eat dinner. You can describe their habits by saying, my children go to school at 8, or they do homework in the afternoon. Shopping online has become part of daily life too. Sometimes, instead of going to the store, I order books, clothes, or household items online. Just last week, I ordered a new set of kitchen utensils. When they arrived, I checked everything carefully and put them away. You can practice with sentences like, I bought new dishes online, or I received a package yesterday. Household chores are always there. Yesterday, I vacuumed the living room, wiped the tables, and cleaned the windows. My wife folded the laundry. You can say, I clean my house every Saturday, or I help my wife with household chores. Preparing for work or school is another daily task. I like to pack my bag the night before, putting in my lunch, water bottle, and documents. Yesterday, I also added a notebook for notes. Describing it is simple. I prepare my bag every night, or I organize everything before going to work. Meals are moments of connection too. In our home, my wife and I sit with the children during breakfast and dinner. We talk about what we will do today or share stories from school and work. You can say, we eat together every day, or we share our stories at the table. Exercise is not just for adults. My children enjoy it too. After school, they ride their bicycles, play ball, and run in the park. You can say, my children play outside after school, or they enjoy playing in the park. Weekends bring their own rhythm. Next Saturday, my wife and I will visit our parents, bringing the children along to spend the whole day together. You can describe it simply, we visit our family on weekends, or we spend time together as a family. Daily life also includes small problems. Yesterday, I spilled tea on the kitchen floor. I cleaned it quickly before it became sticky. You can say, I had a small problem at home, or I cleaned a mess quickly. These sentences show the reality of life in the simplest way. Habits are another part of language learning. Words like always, often, sometimes, usually help describe frequency. For example, I always brush my teeth in the morning and evening, or I often drink tea after breakfast. You could also say, I sometimes read a book before bed. Using these words makes your sentences more accurate and natural. And finally, communication is one of the most important parts of life. I call my parents every week to ask how they are. My wife sends messages to her friends to check in. Sentences like, I call my family every Sunday, or I send messages to my friends are simple but powerful. They show how we stay connected with the people we care about. When you think about all of these examples, commuting, working, sharing meals, fixing small problems, helping family, planning the next day, calling friends, you realize that daily life is full of opportunities to practice English. Every action is a small story, and each story gives you the chance to learn, share, and grow in the language. Welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and I'm so glad you're still here with me. So far, we've explored daily routines, family life, meals, chores, transportation, work, and communication. In this part, let's dive deeper into health habits, children's routines, and how afternoons and evenings often unfold. Good health begins with small, consistent habits. For me, I like to drink a glass of water as soon as I wake up. Sometimes I add a slice of lemon, which makes it refreshing and helps me feel awake. After that, I stretch for 5 minutes, moving my arms and legs to prepare for the day. You can say, I drink water every morning, or I stretch before starting my day. Simple words, but powerful actions. Many people also like to go for a short walk or a light jog in the morning. My friend Daniel walks for 20 minutes every day before breakfast. He always says, it clears my mind. You can describe this easily. I walk in the morning, or I jog before work. These habits keep both the body and the mind strong. Children, too, have their health routines. My children brush their teeth twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. They also wash their hands before meals and after playing outside. Sentences like, my children brush their teeth every day, or they wash their hands before eating, are short, clear, and useful in everyday English. Food plays an important role in health. For breakfast, my children usually eat eggs, bread, and fruit. For lunch, we often prepare rice with vegetables. And in the evening, we try to eat light meals like soup or salad. You can say, we eat fruit in the morning, or we have soup for dinner. Describing meals is a wonderful way to practice both vocabulary and natural rhythm. Of course, health is not only about food and exercise, but also about rest. My children usually go to bed by 9 o'clock. That gives them enough sleep to wake up refreshed for school. You can describe this by saying, my children go to bed early, or they sleep for 8 hours every night. Simple, but very real. Now let's look more closely at children's routines. In the morning, they wake up, wash their faces, brush their teeth, and eat breakfast. After breakfast, they put on their school uniforms and get ready for class. Yesterday, my daughter forgot her notebook, so I had to run back inside to get it before the bus came. You can describe that as, we prepared for school, or we hurried because we forgot something. After school, children often bring stories back home. My son might say, "Today I played football with my friends." My daughter might say, "Today we painted pictures in art class." These small sentences are exactly what you can practice in English. I played football today, or I painted a picture at school. Homework is another part of children's routines. After coming home, they sit at the table and do their assignments. Sometimes they need help with math or reading, and I sit beside them to guide them. You can say, "We do homework in the afternoon," or "I help my children with schoolwork." Afternoons often have a rhythm of their own. For me, after lunch, I like to tidy the house. Yesterday, I swept the floor, wiped the kitchen counters, and folded the laundry. After finishing, I felt calm because everything looked clean. A simple way to describe this is, I clean my house after lunch, or I fold laundry in the afternoon. Sometimes afternoons also include errands outside. I might walk to the grocery store to buy fruits and vegetables, or go to the post office to send a letter. Just last week, I went to the market and bought apples, bananas, and carrots. My wife was happy because we had everything we needed for dinner. You can describe this as, I went shopping in the afternoon, or I bought fruits and vegetables. Evenings bring the family back together again. Around 6 o'clock, I usually prepare dinner. Yesterday, I cooked rice with chicken and vegetables. My wife set the table, and the children helped by bringing water and spoons. A simple way to say this is, we prepare dinner together, or we eat as a family in the evening. After dinner, we all clean together. My wife washes the dishes, I dry them, and the children wipe the table. Describing it is easy. We clean after meals, or everyone helps with chores. Evenings are also for relaxation. Sometimes I drink a cup of tea and read for half an hour. My wife likes to read recipes or check messages on her phone. My children might watch a short cartoon or draw pictures. You can say, I read in the evening, or my children draw before bed. Let me share a small story. Last Wednesday evening, we were sitting together when suddenly the electricity went out. At first, the children were surprised, but then we lit a candle and told stories to each other. My son said, "This is fun." We laughed and enjoyed the quiet moment. You can describe that as, we had no electricity, or we told stories by candlelight. Small surprises like this create wonderful memories. Bedtime closes the day. My children brush their teeth, put on their pajamas, and go to bed around 9. My wife and I usually stay up for another hour, drinking tea and talking quietly. I might write down tasks for tomorrow or read a few pages of a book. A simple way to describe it is, we relax before bed, or we prepare for tomorrow. And then the cycle begins again the next day. Morning, afternoon, and evening, each one filled with small actions, chores, meals, and moments with family. Each one a perfect opportunity to practice English in clear, simple sentences. When you practice describing your day, notice how much variety there is. From brushing teeth to cooking dinner, from helping children with homework to relaxing with tea. Each small action gives you words to use, and the more you use them, the more natural your English becomes. Welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and I'm so glad you've joined me again. In the last part, we explored health habits, children's routines, and how afternoons and evenings often flow. In this part, we'll shift toward food, shopping, the environment around us, and the ways we connect with our community. These are everyday topics, yet they open up such rich opportunities to practice English. Let's start with food because meals are central to every culture. For breakfast, my family often eats eggs, bread, and fruit. Some days we add porridge or pancakes, especially on weekends when we have more time. Lunch is usually rice with vegetables and maybe some meat or chicken. Dinner is lighter, perhaps soup, salad, or pasta. You can describe this easily. I eat eggs for breakfast, or we have soup for dinner. But food is not only about eating, it's also about preparing and sharing. Yesterday, my wife tried a new recipe. She cooked lentils with spices and served them with bread. At first, my children looked at the dish curiously, but after tasting it, they said, "This is delicious." That moment was joyful, and you can capture it in English by saying, "We tried a new recipe yesterday," or "My children liked the food." Shopping is part of the food story. Twice a week, I go to the market. I buy vegetables, fruit, rice, and sometimes fish. Last Saturday, I bought apples, bananas, carrots, and potatoes. At the bakery, I also bought fresh bread. When I came home, my wife smiled and said, "Perfect, now we have everything we need for lunch." You can describe it like this: I went to the market, or I bought fresh vegetables and bread. Shopping can also include other items. Last week, I bought a new cooking pan. It was on sale at the store, so I decided to get it. I also bought some soap and cleaning supplies. You can describe that in simple sentences. I bought a new pan, or I bought soap from the store. And sometimes shopping happens online. Just last month, I ordered a set of kitchen utensils from an online shop. When the package arrived, I checked everything carefully and placed the items in the drawer. You can say, "I bought something online," or "I received a package yesterday." The environment around us is also part of our daily stories. The weather, for example, often shapes our activities. On sunny days, I like to hang clothes outside to dry. Yesterday, the sun was bright, so I washed the clothes in the morning and they dried by the afternoon. A simple way to say this is, I washed clothes and dried them outside. But sometimes the weather changes our plans. Last week, I planned to go shopping, but it started raining heavily. Instead, I stayed home and cleaned the living room. My wife said, "We can go tomorrow instead." You can describe that as, "I stayed home because of the rain," or "We postponed shopping until the next day." Nature gives us many small joys. I enjoy gardening, and on weekends I often plant flowers or vegetables. Last Sunday, I planted tomatoes in the garden, and my children helped water them. They laughed and said, "We want to see them grow." You can describe this easily. I planted tomatoes, or my children watered the plants. These small sentences capture the work we do outside.
Community life is another part of our environment. Sometimes neighbors help each other. Last week, my neighbor's car had a problem. The tire was flat, so I offered to help. We changed the tire together in 15 minutes. Afterward, he thanked me and said, "You saved my day." You can describe that as, "I helped my neighbor," or "We fixed a problem together." Other times, community life is about simple greetings. When I see my neighbor in the morning, I say, "Good morning, how are you?" And he replies, "I'm fine, thank you." These exchanges may seem small, but they keep relationships warm. In English, you can practice this by saying, "Good morning," or "How are you today?" Markets are also a place where community life comes alive. At the fruit stall, I often chat with the seller. Yesterday I asked, "Are these apples fresh?" And he replied, "Yes, they arrived this morning." Small conversations like this are very common in English. You can say, "I asked about the apples," or "The seller said they are fresh." Community life can also include visiting relatives. Last Sunday, my family visited my parents. We had lunch together, talked about the week, and enjoyed each other's company. My father told a funny story from his youth, and we all laughed. You can describe this with, "We visited our parents," or "We had lunch with family." The environment around us includes small surprises too. One evening, while walking home, I saw a rainbow after the rain. I stopped and admired it for a few minutes. You can describe it as, "I saw a rainbow," or "The weather was beautiful after the rain." And sometimes nature brings challenges. Last winter, it snowed heavily in my town. Every morning, we had to clear the snow from the yard before going out. My children helped, laughing and playing while we worked. You can say, "We cleared snow in the morning," or "The children played in the snow." Food, shopping, the environment, and community life are deeply connected. We eat together, we shop for what we need, we notice the weather, and we help the people around us. Each of these actions is an opportunity to speak English in a simple and true way. Welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and it's wonderful to have you with me again. So far, we've walked through daily routines, family life, food, shopping, the environment, and community. Now let's turn to something that touches all of us, our work, our studies, and the ways we keep improving ourselves. These are not just tasks, they are part of how we grow, both in life and in language. Work is often the rhythm of our week. My friend Lisa works in an office. Every morning she arrives at 9 o'clock, turns on her computer, and checks her emails. She attends meetings, prepares reports, and talks with clients on the phone. At lunch, she usually eats a sandwich and drinks tea. By 5 o'clock, she finishes her work and heads home. You can describe her day in simple sentences. She checks emails, she attends meetings, she finishes work at 5 o'clock. Another example is my neighbor Daniel. He works as a driver. He wakes up very early, around 5 o'clock, to prepare for his route. He drinks a quick cup of coffee, then drives passengers to different parts of the city. He often says, "I meet many people every day." In English, you can say, "He drives to work," or "He meets people during the day." Simple, clear, and easy to practice. Some people work from home. My cousin Sarah, for example, uses her computer to write reports and join online meetings. She often says, I enjoy working from home because I can spend more time with my children. A way to describe this is she works online, or she joins meetings on her computer. Of course, work is not always easy. Last week, Sarah had an important meeting, but her internet connection stopped suddenly. She became worried, but after restarting the router, the problem was solved. You can describe that simply. She had an internet problem, or she fixed it quickly. These small real-life stories make your English more natural. Study is another kind of work, one that shapes the future. Children, students, and even adults all learn in different ways. My children study math, reading, and science every day. After school, they do homework at the table. Yesterday, my son said, I learned multiplication today. My daughter said, we read a new story in class. In English, you can practice these by saying, I learned math today, or I read a story in class. Students often prepare for exams. My niece Emma, who is in high school, studies late at night before her tests. She makes notes, reviews her books, and practices sample questions. You can describe this as she studies for exams, or she reviews her lessons at night. Adults study too in many different forms. My friend Ahmed is learning English online. Every evening, he listens to podcasts, writes new words in a notebook, and practices speaking with his classmates. He told me, I practice every day, even if only for 10 minutes. That's a wonderful lesson. You can describe it simply, he studies English every day, or he listens to podcasts and practices speaking. Self-improvement is about building habits. For example, I always make a small plan for the week. On Sunday evening, I write down tasks for each day: cleaning, shopping, exercise, family time, and work goals. This helps me stay organized. You can describe it as I make a weekly plan, or I write my goals on Sunday. Sometimes improvement means learning from mistakes. Last Monday, I forgot to bring an important document to work. I had to return home to get it, which took extra time. I told myself, next time I will check my bag carefully before leaving. You can describe that as I made a mistake, or I learned from the mistake. Improvement can also come from trying something new. My wife recently joined a cooking class. She learned how to make a new type of bread. At first, it was difficult, but after practicing twice, she became confident. You can describe that with she joined a class, or she practiced until she succeeded. Work and study also connect with rest and balance. My friend Michael works long hours, but he always takes a short walk during lunch. He says, a 10-minute walk helps me feel fresh. You can describe it as he takes a walk at lunch, or he rests before continuing work. For students, balance means mixing study with play. My children study in the afternoon, but afterward they go outside to ride bicycles and play ball. You can describe it as they study first, or they play after homework. Learning English itself is a kind of work and self-improvement. Every time you practice a small sentence like, I washed the dishes yesterday, or I bought apples at the market, you are working on yourself. Each repetition makes your English more natural, and each story makes your words more alive. So whether it's a job, schoolwork, or personal learning, the path is the same.
Small, steady steps. Just as we wake up, eat breakfast, and go about our day, we can also practice, repeat, and grow in our English. Hello again, and welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and it's such a joy to continue this journey with you. So far, we've talked about routines, food, work, study, and self-improvement. Now, let's turn to something deeply human: family, emotions, and relationships. These are the parts of life that shape who we are, and they give us some of the richest ways to practice English.
Family is often the heart of our daily stories. In my own family, mornings begin with small but important actions: preparing breakfast together, reminding children to take their school bags, and saying goodbye as they head off for the day. Even something as simple as "goodbye, have a nice day" is an opportunity to use English. In the evening, family comes together again. Last Thursday, for example, my wife prepared dinner while my children set the table. I poured water into glasses, and then we all sat down to eat. My daughter told us about a project at school, and my son described a game he played with his friends. These little moments are full of language. You can practice them with simple sentences like, "We ate dinner together," or "My children told me stories from school." Relationships also include extended family. Last weekend, we visited my parents. We brought fruits and bread, and we sat together talking about the week. My father shared a memory from when he was a young man, and we laughed at his funny story. You can describe this by saying, "We visited our parents," or "We listened to family stories." Sometimes relationships bring challenges. My sister once called me upset because she had argued with a friend. She said, "I feel sad because she didn't listen to me." I told her, "Give it time and talk to her again." Later, they made peace. You can practice this kind of story with sentences like, "She felt sad after an argument," or "They made peace later." Emotions are part of every relationship. Happiness, sadness, surprise, excitement. These are all feelings we can describe. Last Monday, my son came home with a big smile and said, "I got the highest score in my class." I replied, "I'm so proud of you." That's joy. And in English, you can say, "He was happy," or "I felt proud." Another day, my daughter lost her pencil case at school. She looked sad when she came home. I asked, "What happened?" She said, "I lost my things." I comforted her and promised we would buy a new one tomorrow. This can be shared as, "She felt sad," or "We solved the problem together." Emotions also appear in community life. Once, my neighbor invited us to his house for tea. We sat together and talked about work and family. I felt grateful because hospitality creates connection. You can describe that by saying, "I visited my neighbor," or "We drank tea together." And sometimes emotions come from surprises. One evening, I returned home to find that my children had cleaned the living room without being asked. I was so surprised and happy. I told them, "Thank you. This means a lot to me." You can share that as, "I was surprised," or "My children helped me." Relationships also grow through special occasions. On birthdays, we celebrate with cake and candles. Last month, my wife had a birthday. We baked a small cake at home, sang together, and gave her a handmade card. She said, "This is the best gift."
You can practice with sentences like, we celebrated a birthday, or she was happy with her gift. Holidays are another chance to connect. On New Year's Eve, we often gather with family, share food, and wish each other health and happiness. In English, you can say, we celebrated the new year, or we wished each other well. Family also means helping in difficult times. A few months ago, my cousin was sick, so I visited her and brought soup. She said, "Thank you for thinking of me." Helping each other builds stronger relationships. You can describe it simply, I visited a sick relative, or I brought food to help. Friendships are part of this picture too. My best friend and I talk every week, even if only for a few minutes. Sometimes we meet for tea, sometimes we just call. Last Friday, he told me a funny story about his work and we both laughed. You can say, I met my friend, or we laughed together. Emotions can be very simple, like feeling tired after a long day. Yesterday evening, I said to my wife, I feel tired. I just want to rest. She smiled and replied, sit down, I'll make you some tea. That's love in small gestures. You can describe it as, I was tired, or she made me tea. Sometimes emotions are about excitement. Last summer, we planned a trip to the mountains. My children kept asking, when will we go? Their excitement made the whole family happy. You can share that as, we were excited about our trip, or the children couldn't wait. When we look at family, emotions, and relationships, we see how much language is hidden inside them. Every hug, every story, every laugh, every tear, all of these are opportunities to practice English. And because these moments are so personal, the words you learn become meaningful. Welcome back to English Without Limit. I'm Julia, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. We've already explored so many parts of daily life: routines, food, family, emotions, and relationships. Now let's focus on pronunciation, communication, and how to make your English sound natural. This is where your practice becomes more than just words. It becomes living language. Pronunciation is the bridge between knowing a word and being understood. For example, let's take the word comfortable. Many learners say it slowly as comfortable, but in everyday English, it's often pronounced as comfortable, a shorter, smoother sound. You can practice by saying, this chair is comfortable. Another example is vegetable. Some learners pronounce each part vegetable, but in natural English, we usually say vegetable. You might use it in a sentence like, I eat vegetables every day. Stress, or where we put emphasis, also matters. For example, the word present can mean two different things depending on stress. If we stress the first part, present, it means a gift. But if we stress the second part, present, it means to give a talk. You can practice by saying, I received a present, and I will present my ideas tomorrow. Let me share a short story. My friend once practiced English every evening